So, welcome again to Game Sound Club. I'm your host, Killer Keemstar. Uh, and just before we start off this session, thank you to Winston and Sashan for the suggestions to make this a thing. So remember that if there's ever anything you want to see, just pop it in the suggestions channel and we'll try to get to it. Because, we want to do what you want to see. All right, so welcome back. It's the beginning of the semester, hopefully a good one. Um, Beginning of a new year, hopefully a better one. And yeah, welcome back to Game Sound Club, Part 2. All right, so like the title says, what we're going to be doing today is going to be making a song in a DAW, and we're going to be making it specifically so that it could be um, adaptable to whatever you're doing in gameplay. So we're just going to be covering the DAW part of it in this week, and in a future session, we will be covering actually implementing it in Fmod Studio and how to like make it um, actually react to the gameplay. So obviously to do this, you're gonna need a DAW. So like Anthony sent earlier, we have a bunch of free options. Personally, I would highly recommend FL Studio's free trial because you can do pretty much everything you can do with the full version, except basically the only limitation is that you can't reopen projects after you save them, but you can export audio and you could always rebuild everything you did after, which is a pain, but it works for what you want to do and it's extremely powerful. Um, LMMS is also, I've heard, really good. It's open source, has a similar workflow to FL Studio from what I've seen. Um, but I haven't used it, so your mileage may vary. And Anthony has experience with Bosca, Bosca Choil, however you
Vodka
pronounce
Choil.
that.
Yeah.
So he can talk
Um,
about that.
I love this thing. I will always praise Miles for showing me it. Um, it's great. It's really simple. There's not a lot you can do with it. Like for example, I would have no idea where the first step to start to actually like adding like a lot of layering and dynamic stuff to work with Fmod. I would know how to do that, or not know how to do that rather with Bosca Choil, but Bosca Choil is nice because you can kind of just slap notes together and change the arrangements of certain things. You got loads of different instruments and stuff to give like different vibes. Um, and also the whole kind of theme of it is like, 16-bit sort of sounding things. And it's pretty diverse or I guess pretty great for what it is. And yeah, it's just really easy to pick up. So that's my pitch for that.
All right. So yeah, hopefully you gave one of these a download, or a couple of them a download if you want to try a bunch. Um, and if you want to follow along, that's great. But otherwise, like you don't have to. You can follow along with what I'm doing here and just pick up the things as I go. Um, but yeah, moving swiftly on. In case you're downloading them right now, just wanted to do a quick overview of what we want to cover today. Just in case you're downloading it now. So spends a bit more time here before actually diving headfirst in. So, like it says at the top, it's less of an FL Studio tutorial and more just a songwriting um, tutorial for how to do it for a game, and making a track that's very modular and very easily adaptable to middleware. Um, so basically, what we're going to try to do today is to utilize a lot of patterns in the piece to make it very modular and to build it in parts while maintaining the cohesiveness. So basically, what I mean by that is um, making all of it cohesive, like make it all linearly, because obviously it's a linear environment, a DAW. It's not changing with gameplay because there is no gameplay in a DAW. So you're going to be making the piece linearly, but you're going to be making it in a way so that it lends itself well to the adaptive nature of gameplay. Um, And yeah, we're just going to show you how to make the song here, make it easily constructed in runtime by the engine, and make it so that even if there's just a few parameters or a ton, uh, this process should provide a good foundation or base for that kind of song in your game. All right, and moving swiftly on into FL Studio. So I'm going to stop that stream. I'm going to open FL Studio, and I'm going to stream that. All right. So just making sure everyone can see it, and everyone can hear that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Very cool. Gonna need to adjust the volume a bit. So basically what I have here is just, I hit new. It's completely blank. I haven't done anything with it. And basically, this is the fun part, which has been stressing me out for a long time, but I want audience interaction. So if someone wants to give an example of like a type of game, just like a genre, and then
Horror.
a scenario. Horror?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so we're going to be doing a horror game. And okay, so for a horror game, what kind of scenarios would there be? Just put your game design caps on.
Jump scares.
I want to be like in the hallway, like a closed off hallway where like you're not being chased, but like something is about to happen.
All right. So kind of just an overarching sort of feel of tension,
Like
and
an eeriness.
building up,
Yeah.
and then building up that tension
eerie.
towards a jump scare kind of thing.
Yes.
All right.
Good job, Josh.
Good job. Yes,
Thank you,
good job
Josh.
for the job. Yes, thank you for that. All right.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Oh, I love it. All right.
I'm very sure there's more.
Oh, there's definitely more. All right. So just to start off,
Your
I'm
stream's
gonna make.
paused.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, when you minimize it, it's when you tab out, it pauses it.
I'm not tabbed out. Okay. Sorry about that. Change windows. Hey Discord, when I click change windows, can I change windows? There we go. Screen one. I'll switch back to the window when I'm actually doing the writing part so that you can hear the stuff. But right now I'm just starting off by, I navigated to the project settings and I click data folder. This way that anything we make in FL Studio will be in this folder. So it's great for organization. It's a great thing to just start off by doing with FL Studio in particular. And I know I said it's not an FL Studio tutorial and immediately started doing an FL Studio specific thing, but I'm pretty sure most other DAWs have this as well. All right, so let's save it there, and there we go. And I'll switch back to the other thing. All right, there we go. Cool beans. So, with horror, okay. So with horror, what you normally see is, it's very ambient, a lot of like low, deep things. So Josh said hallway, so I'm thinking like an abandoned house, kind of Resident Evil style. Is that the kind of thing you were thinking?
Yeah. Just like anything. Yeah, you have the general vibe. You've got the vibe.
Right. You've caught the vibe, I think.
All right. Okay, let's work with that. All right, so for an overarching kind of tense feel, let's throw on Helm. Like I said, all of this is completely just in the moment. I haven't done any of this yet. I had no idea you guys were going to say horror. I was kind of hoping for RPG or FPS, but let's work with it. So you can see this.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool. So this is Helm. It's a free synth. It's fantastic. Recommend it to all of you. And I haven't really gone through it, so this is fun. Let's go through it. Find, you know what? This one's called Tension. So let's hear this. That is not at all what I expected.
We can't hear it.
Oh, you can't?
No, you're sharing your screen.
I am
No,
sharing
you gotta
the
share the
window.
window.
Oh, I'm sharing the screen still.
Yeah.
Did I actually went to change window and clicked the same thing. I'm sorry. There we go.
It's alright.
All right, you can hear
There
that.
we go.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right. So, basically first things I usually try to do is I try to find like a feel or like an overall kind of vibe to the piece. So, horror that usually has like organs, which this doesn't really sound like an organ to be honest. But it usually has some kind of like big bassy sounds, like I said. So let's just go through these. Let's find some hard terror. Let's see. That's a bit much. You know what? Let's try something else. All right. So I'm just gonna navigate here to the packs section because that's where other instruments are. I'm gonna go to instruments, keyboard. Let's do stage grand. Those are usually big grand pianos. Cool. All right. So horror, tension. You're gonna want a lot of minor chords like that. Which is that. Which we will get into theory and that kind of stuff later down the line. We got something planned out for that. So something kind of tense that just sets the mood over top of everything. You're gonna want some sort of key or just that sounds kind of uncomfortable. So you know what? Let's just hit piano roll. I like this because it sounds kind of disgusting. Let's just start with that. Cool. And let's bring that a few octaves down. That is A, so. Alright. So that could be, that sounds like it could be a stinger. So what I try to do in the DAW is whenever I have like a pattern or something that could work in a certain context, like for the song that I'm working on in the GDW group, I have everything sorted into exploration track and then combat track, and then from there I break it down into each of the instruments. So like that kind of thing. I'm picturing it right now. That could be like you're walking down the hallway and then a door swings open and then piano makes that really gross chord.
Get jump scared by a piano.
Jump scared by a piano. Yeah. Or you could also do something higher
Stream's
up.
gone black.
All right.
So your stream has gone black.
My stream's gone black?
Yeah.
That's really unfortunate. See, we're not GPC, so we aren't very technical here.
I mean, like, I feel like we don't have an excuse if I'm there.
We don't. This is true. All right, it says the stream's good.
Yeah, the stream's good.
Okay. Very much apologies, but we'll work through it. All right, so let's go an octave. Let's work. You know, I like A minor is a good chord, or A minor is a good key to work with, because it's just C major except down. and it sounds kind of dark. It's always been kind of associated with that, kind of like how D minor is usually associated with sad.
Hey Carter,
Yes.
hey Carter, that's kind of racist against the Black Keys, you know?
Wow. Well, you know what? They're a good band, so it's okay. All right. So there we go. We got a stinger that will work for now. And now let's try to find an actual kind of synthy thing that could be used for the kind of just vibes and the general kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Ambient kind of feel. So you just go to a random synth. I do want to make an organ work.
You could probably do some neat detuny stuff with like that particular sample.
So like,
Yeah, something like that. That's whack.
yeah. All right. So that as just kind of an over. Okay, you know what? Let's work with that. It's 3 notes, but it works. Remember, it doesn't need to be complex if it works. So let's just hold that. It's a bit long. Cool. All right, so let's say that's ambient 1. So from there, what I usually do is I lay down the ambience. So in the case of my game or an FPS, I would normally just do it as the drum track or the rhythm, percussion, that kind of thing. That way everything kind of has a base to build off of. Pardon the pun, but bass is usually a good way to or a good place to start. The melody is really good to start with for more intense or more engaged musical tracks. So like if you're in a combat encounter, or if you're in a really intense boss fight, or there's a very emotional scene, then the melody, which would normally be higher in the registers, that would be the focus of it. Whereas the more ambient stuff or the more tension building stuff, that would be lower, that would be in the bass, that would lay the foundation for everything else to go on top of. So we got that, and we got it in the song view. We just have that, just repeats. And now after that we have ambient 1. Let's make ambient 2 to mix it up a little, and let's just preemptively put that there. So we go, so we could go lower. That sounds a bit too hopeful. That sounds like a good place to rest on after maybe. Yeah, that sounds pretty dark. All right. So there we go. We already got something kind of unsettling, and it's good to build off of. That way we can like build off of this. Obviously, that's what you do when you build off of something. But
When you got time? Yeah, I got time.
You got time. As you can tell, this is very, very off the cuff. But yeah, this is a good foundation to build off of. It's already got that kind of unsettling atmosphere. It's got that dissonance, particularly in this part, how it's going down a half step, and the fact that this is on the second. this B right here. That's the second of the chord, and you don't normally use the second. The flat third, which is the C in this case, that's usually just a sign of, okay, this is a minor chord. But the going down a semitone to the second is usually not seen. So it's a good way to kind of throw the listener off, like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird sounding. I'm not super comfortable with this. I would like to go home, please, Mom, pick me up. That kind of thing. And then just continually descending down, right here, that would be the. That'd be the.
What just happened? But you have
sixth,
crackles in your audio. Oh.
with my voice, or
No, with the DAW, there's crackles in the audio. Oh God. Rip.
okay, it
I
sounds.
mean, honestly, it
It's like
kind
an
of fits the
intense
vibe. I'm
hailstorm.
not gonna lie.
All right. Well, it sounds
It's
fine
fitting
on
the
my end.
vibe.
It sounds fine on my end, but I'm just gonna. All right, cool. I'll just go with that. But yeah, the F. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that's the sixth. Once again, that's something you don't normally see. Because usually it's the 1, 3, 5, 7. Those are usually the chord tones or the primary chord tones. So going down to that note, that kind of throws you off as well. And then that one, the E, the E is the fifth, so it's a good power chord, but upside down like this, that's an inversion, which is basically just a fancy way of saying the root note is not the one at the bottom. No anger against the sixth chord. Sixth is really cool. I dig it. I dig weird and unconventional chord choices, I should say. But you don't see it very often. So yeah, just working your way down past the root, it's kind of giving it that, like right here, as it goes 2 or 3, 2, 6, 5, it's kind of descending down on that, which, you know, it's bringing you deeper in a sort of way if you want to go really kind of meta with the music there. So if we're lazy, we could just copy and paste this, but I'm not super lazy, so what we're going to do here is we're going to have amp 3. So let's say this would be when you're building up tension a bit more. I'm going to try to spell that properly this time, because spelling totally matters. And another thing you can do, this is what I do for pretty much everything, or every project I do. I put markers in the DAW, so I'll say not much tension. FL Studio has a weird thing with backspaces sometimes, so be wary of that. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I'm sure it's a very simple fix. Bit more tension. So let's just throw that there, and that way we'll know, okay, this is the part where you would say throw in another parameter and be like, okay, this is where the tension comes in. So let's do something. So we did that. So let's keep working with no, that sounds like a nursery rhyme or something. I do like working with this. So maybe if we move the root in this case, or no, that sounds bad. Right. Okay. sounds more sad than spooky, so I'm gonna try to put a bit more dissonance in there. That's really dissonant. I don't know how it sounds with the rest of it. It sounds dissonant, but it doesn't sound good. So let's try something else. I'm not too sure.
Maybe try making the third measure go up even more and like have the like dramatic drop on the fourth measure.
So something
Give
like
like a what the heck's going on kind of feel.
so something like that kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe.
F in measure 3.
Don't drop the root in the second part, because it just makes it into a major thing.
That is very true. Now let's introduce a third note, make it a triad. That sounds kind of disturbing, I guess. So let's do that. And alright. So as you can probably tell from this so far, a lot of this is just experimentation. A lot of it is just, okay, let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this.
Part
And
of your
just-
stream's gone black again.
Why does that keep happening, Discord? Okay.
We can still hear it.
You can still hear it. That's good, at least.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
Alright, so I feel like this is good to work off of, but I think
The
there
high
needs to
note?
be
The high note there really like sets it off. Yeah. Makes it sound good.
yeah. Alright. So yeah, I guess it's sort of escalating tension kind of thing. It feels like it's building towards something.
You
Alright.
got a bit of like contrary motion with like you're going up in the first 2 and 3 measures, and then you're going down as well in the 3 and 4.
Exactly. Yeah, that is a very good point. Having stuff like that kind of contradicts each other is a really good way of building a bit more space and kind of writing in an expansive way, I guess I would put that. So instead of just throwing more and more layers on top of it and being like, okay, here's high notes, here's low notes, here's everything, you could take a single note and then put one note above it and then one note below it, and then keep doing that and kind of making them go higher and lower, and that way it kind of builds outward and grows as the piece goes on. That's something I like to do. And yeah, here it's kind of working to build a bit more of that tension. But it is missing something. It's missing a bit of that kind of tense, there's something coming around the corner kind of thing. So I'm going to add in what's everyone's favorite tense instrument? Violins, because they are used in every horror thing under the sun. So strings are very good for all kinds of
I want
horror.
a cello.
A cello is also
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
cello.
Okay. Okay. So, and then this is where the tracks come in. So I'm gonna throw that there. I'm gonna call this, let's say strings 1, and then this will be ambience. And it's useful to color things too. There is an option now in new FL Studio for random safe color, so it'll just pick a random color that isn't used by anything else. It's pretty helpful. I have not actually used it until now, but it's good to know that it's there. It's always good to know what's there to utilize, no matter what the program is. So yeah, definitely use that because it's helpful, especially in bigger compositions, like when there's, let's say, 37 tracks, and every single one of them is a different piece. It's very useful to just have different color coordinations for all of them, or say all of the strings are warm colors and then all like the drums are cold colors or something like that. So structuring your piece in the DAW like that is very helpful, and yeah, it's invaluable, to be completely honest, to do that. And another thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the channels in the mixer here. So that's something I'm going to touch back on in a minute, but just know that the mixer is very important, and we will see why in a few. Alright, so right here I'm just going to loop this bit and figure out what I want to do with the strings. That is not strings. Oh, it's doing the snare, that's why.
All of a sudden got a very dark war film vibes.
Yeah, let's just throw in some artillery, why not? Jiminy makes a fantastic point. If the composition is, like, if let's say you wrote a Beatles song, but it's mixed horribly, it's not going to be nice to listen to. So, like, if the engineering is good, and, well, if the engineering's good, that's, like, at least 40 to 50% of the song, and the quality of the experience right there. So, like, if you write a good song, and you mix it well, you engineer it well, it sounds good, and it sounds pleasing, it doesn't make your ears bleed, then you got something good. But even if it's a mediocre song mixed well, it's still going to be easier to listen to than a really good song that has very, very bad quality. But, you know, it depends. It's person to person. Sound is one of those very subjective things. But yeah, generally, as a rule, make sure the mixing's good, make sure the engineering's good, because even if the composition isn't perfect, then it'll at least be easy to listen to. Alright, so I kind of like that descending sort of thing. And right here I'm just increasing the velocity so that you can actually hear how low the note is, because this is an E2. It's one of the lowest in the, I almost said alphabet, but one of the lowest on a piano. So it's very, very deep, very bassy. Can be hard to hear depending on the setup you have. So there we go. So let's say, all right. So reason I've kind of built it out like this so far is that you start off, you want a bit of tension, just kind of something to lay the groundwork, and then as you progress, let's say you hit a checkpoint, or let's say this game's like PT or something, and you round the corner that hits a checkpoint, and you see something kind of unnerving, like the fridge closes or something like that, and ooh, I don't know who closed the fridge. So then that's where you would flip the parameter, and then at the point in the that you have the transition set to, then it would go to this part, and then this would either be maybe something randomized, so that it would come in every now and then, or it could be, okay, this is another checkpoint. Major crackling again, really? That's unfortunate. I'm talking about good audio quality and mixing, and this is what's happening. Dang. Is my voice crackly too?
Your voice is
No,
No,
just-
you're good.
Okay, so it's just
It's just when you play the thing, yeah.
This is so weird. Huh. All right.
It was fitting the vibe before. Now it's just kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's understandable.
It might just be FL Studio clipping through Discord's input, I guess.
Maybe.
Try turning down master a little bit.
Yeah, let's do that. How's that?
Still there.
Dang.
It goes away and comes back. I guess we kind of just got to deal with it. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure
It's
what's happening
fine.
with that.
But yeah, point I was trying to say without the crackling, is so you do this part, everything's okay, it's just kind of creepy, and then boom, something unsettling happens. You move over to this part, and then maybe there's a bit more layers, like you start approaching it. That's when you add in another layer. And that's one way of doing vertical adaptivity, is as the player does stuff, or as things progress in the game scene, that's when you add more layers to the song. And this bit right here, where you transition from, let's say, this loop to this loop, that would be horizontal sequencing, or horizontal resequencing, which is the other primary form of adaptive audio, which we touch on in depth in we touched on in the past on one of our last sessions about adaptive audio. So go check that out if you haven't watched it and you want to learn more. But we're going to see it next, or in the part 2 of this, actually implementing it in Fmod. So we got this. Let's call this low strings 1, and let's throw in kind of a high strings, to like a high strings that's kind of quiet to unsettle. Like, let's say as they're approaching a door, that's when the high strings come in. Let's just do that, and let's throw in another marker. Let's say approaching door, or approaching jump scare. Okay, so then you make another pattern. Let's use string section again. One thing I would like to say, if you're using the same type of thing, let's say you have the piano or a grand piano in one thing, and you want to use, let's say, another or a second grand piano. Benefit of using patterns like this and this kind of workflow is that you can use the same piano channel, and you can just route it to a different mixer track here instead. So once you render this out, or once I render this out, I could be like, okay, I want this to be a different insert than insert 5. I want it to put it to 6 for some reason. So I can have control over just this track. So then I set the mixer channel here, right there. I could set it to 6 and be like, cool, we're good there. But I would say using the same channels, or reusing the same channels if you can, is a really good practice. Saves you memory, saves you CPU performance. That way you're not loading 17 of the same thing, all the same samples, and just using different ones. So yeah, that's important to do. So let's just throw this in. I'm thinking kind of a very staccatoed thing. I have no idea if that's still crackly or not.
Oh no, you're good.
Okay, cool. Alright, so let's do, you know what, high violins are very kind of, let's do something like that. No, pattern. And then copy. Another thing, you're going to want to use keyboard shortcuts a lot, especially when doing stuff like this. It saves you a ton of time. Alright, so let's just do that. You know what, actually, let's do a few of these. Let's do high strings 1, and let's spread that out a bit. Like, let's get rid of half of them. That way, as you approach the door, you could probably calculate, you could calculate the distance in engine, send that to a parameter, and then that way, as you get closer, you could speed it up. Which I don't really think I need to say that speeding up part of the music is a really good way to kind of build tension. But I will say it anyways. Speeding up a part of the music is a really good way to build tension. So doing this is a great example of how to use adaptive audio. So let's say you're just standing there, it's like this. I'm gonna go to this one. So you're just standing there, you're like, okay, I'm gonna start approaching it. And then the strings come in. And as you start to get closer, it gets faster and faster. And, you know, it's building to something. So let's do one more. And you know what, let's just duplicate it. Let's see how fast it is.
Sounds like a car alarm.
It kind of does, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, actually. But what you can do is something kind of building up over all this. All right. No, sounds too happy. No.
I think no, never mind. I was gonna say pretty much exactly what you were doing.
Go lower, that kind of thing.
No, start off really high, and then like I don't know, do something dramatic.
I actually kind of like that. All right. So, all right. right, so you're approaching the thing. You know, the staccatos makes you feel a bit uncomfortable, and oh no, it's speeding up. And then when you get to the door, let's say, and then the stinger doesn't play. That is beautiful. Oh, I deleted the piano. That's why. All right. Nope, that's not it. Okay, let's add the piano again.
Let's just transition into some EDM music
Oh
right
yeah.
there. That's the stinger.
All right, so the stinger comes in, and it's just all. Oh yeah. Yeah, you open the door, and it's a dance party. Well, let's do a stage grand again. I'm pretty sure I used that last time. You know, let's do one of those like kind of spilling the keys sort of thing. You see it a lot in like, I don't know where you see it a lot. I'm gonna be honest. You see it a lot in older horror, or like that kind of mood, that kind of vibe. When the keyboard just kind of goes like that. So let's see how we can
Keyboard player
incorporate
just
that.
slaps his arms onto the keyboard.
Yeah, the keyboard player drops dead.
Okay.
How low is that? There we go. Let's go an octave lower. Okay. I'm actually just gonna hit record and do that. Sure, that works. Now let's move it into the key of C, or into the key of A minor, because that is incredibly important when doing a keyboard player drops dead sort of thing. Cool. And that would go, let's say. Alright, so approaching jump scare, we don't need to listen to that again. Keep going closer. Keep building the tension sort of thing. And then highest point of tension. Silence, and then that's when it's delivered. So this is very basic outline. This is a save button. You're always going to want to do that. Let's say piano, high strings, strings 1. Let's just do low strings. All right. So there is more you can add to this kind of thing. Like let's say I don't really like the tension part. It's not as open as I would like, so maybe I could go in, add a different
Screen's going
synth.
black again. Oh, there we go.
Screen's going black
Yeah.
again.
No, you're good. You're good.
You good? Okay. Or I'm good. Cool.
Yeah, you are good.
Beans and a half. So let's say I want it to be a bit more open. I could throw in a synth or something in there and be like, okay, it's just super open, kind of dark, rather than having like that kind of weird churchy organ sound. I could fill it with one of those sort of ambient, like more ambient synths. So you could always do that. You could always experiment. You could always add more. For a horror setting like this, I would recommend being kind of minimal with it, and going for a more less is more approach. So honestly, I think this is a good thing to base or build off of. I would actually like to do a bit less here. Or discomfort, I should say. So this is the beauty of working in a DAW, as opposed to actually working with sheet music. If you write something at the beginning on a piece of paper, you can't move it later. So you can move everything after that. Let's say, oh, I want 5 more bars at the beginning. I could just move over, which, it's the benefit of working on a computer. But alas, let's do citrus. Let's see. Citrus has a lot of things. I don't know if this is visible. It's not. There we go.
It is not. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't record the detached windows, but that is a thing we will find a workaround for. So let's find something kind of spooky. This one says Satan FM. I like the sound of that. That is.
Oh my god.
I do not like the sound of that. All right.
I both
Not
do
in my Christian Minecraft server.
Anybody fell asleep during the session? They're awake now.
Yep.
Yep.
Welcome back to the session, guys.
Love it. All right, so, this is actually perfect. Pads right here. Pads are very useful for atmosphere. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. It's usually because everything that's electronic to me is a synth, but that's fine. Pads are very, as you can hear by that, very atmospheric.
Valve loading screen.
Yeah, this
Hazardous
is very,
environments.
This is very much the trademark Valve unease kind of atmosphere that they like. So yeah, let's build off of that. Let's throw in, let's put it on track number 5. Ambience, but better. And let's move that up. Cool. Let's give it a random color. Pink, perfect. Spookiest color. And I'm just doing this for sake of visual clarity, I guess. So right here, let's do that. The note being uneven very much bothers me, so I'm going to make it even. There we go. So. And let's do another one, but let's say an octave lower.
It almost reminds me of like a kind of a Metroid kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime Hunters specifically.
Oh, I really like that.
That's like barely audible.
Yeah, I do like that. That's one thing I really like in ambient stuff is when it's just barely there.
It's barely there, but it's just there enough to be unsettling.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know what? Let's throw in another layer, ambience 2B. Because that's ambience 2. This is ambience 2B. All right. Now let's throw in more. Let's throw in something there. Let's do, because that's just cycling through A and then a lower version of A. So let's throw that in. Let's put that there. Let's see how that sounds.
dissonant.
All right, cool. And this is where I would probably just go nuts with this stuff. Just probably go through all different chord tones of A minor. Just find that doesn't sound good at all together.
Getting
The
a little bit
crackling
of crackles.
Yay!
But it helps for ambience.
Exactly.
For ambience, it sounds fire.
Yeah, yo, Carter, you should get a Cracklies sample and like just actually slap it in there.
Like a crackly kind of sample.
Yeah.
I could throw distortion on something. Ooh, that's actually a very good idea. All right. We're moving stuff over. Alright. Where did that go? There it is. That's going there. That is going there, I guess. Let's just leave it there. And jump scare. Okay. Discomfort. Let's throw one more in here. Let's put that on, 10, let's say, because I don't know how many more things I'm gonna add. Let's do distorted amp. Random color for clarity. Awesome. Nice. Very, very subtle. So then I would just do, keep the groundwork there. Maybe space these ones out a bit. Try different things there. But then let's use pattern 9 again over that. And just kind of loop it. But let's throw on some distortion. So this is where the mixer thing comes in. Yeah, thanks for coming, Marcus. See you later. Have a good one. I don't know if you're still in the... Oh, he's not. It's fine.
He gone.
It's fine. So yeah, let's use a compressor actually. And just compress the hell out of it. Let's use light. Yeah, no, I don't want that. There's no heavy one. Oh well. Let's just crack up the gain. Let's do hard. Very short attack, so that means it'll... Yeah, you can barely hear it. Let's clone that. Let's do that. And let's make that an octave higher.
Ooh, that's nasty.
Alright, that way we can kind of hear. Can we hear that? Here, I'm just gonna throw this on because you guys can't even see the compressors. I just realized that. I'm sorry. Stupid detached windows. There we go. Right. You know what? It's not doing that because it's in the patterns. So let's do this. So I do like that tone. Sounds kind of creepy. So let's right click that, distorted amp. And what we're gonna do here is render it. So quick render, it's nice and quick. That way it's an actual audio track, and that is where what I did at the beginning, the setting up the data folder. That's where that comes in handy, because this track, that's where that's going. It'll be in there. So now that I've got that, I'm gonna replace that. And there we go. So all right, so it sounds kind of tinny. Sounds like very Michael Bay Transformers sounding. I really like that. Wow. But there's not really, as you can tell, there's not really any fade in. It just kind of happens. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create an automation clip, and I'm going to increase the volume as it goes. All right. So, we got something really uncomfortable. I'm feeling kind of weird listening to this, so it's working. But yeah, we got automation clip in there. We got rendering stuff. We got different parts of it. So we got the horizontal resequencing. We got vertical layering so that it adds more stuff as time goes on. Speaking of layering, I'm gonna keep the ambient stuff going through the rest of it. So let's copy that. Let's paste it there. And let's copy that again. And it's doing that weird shift thing that FL Studio loves to do. And I think I'm gonna lower the volume on that one. So what I'm gonna do there is, let's put that on track 11 just to be super safe. Let's call that right, amp other, because I forget what it was actually called before this. Let's give it a color once again. Let's lower the volume a bit. And oh right, you're probably wondering, hey, why is lowering the volume do nothing? It's because it's not rendered like that, which is kind of an issue when I'm trying to show you like this, but it's fine for our purposes. It just shows that, okay, this is connected to this. So how can I fix that? Consolidate this track from track start. Boom, that'll render the whole thing out. And there we go. It's rendered the whole track as an audio clip. And there we go. Now it's got the effect on it. So I can lower the volume there. Another thing you can use automation on is the panning, which is very good for giving off that sort of weird feeling. It's very useful for like a surrounded kind of vibe. So I'm just gonna go in the channel rack and do it, since I don't want to set up the rest of these at the moment. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's put that one, let's put it slightly off to the left. And let's put that organ slightly off to the right. But this one I'll also put on the right. And it's subtle, and it's only really audible, I guess, in headphones or when you're listening with good speakers, but it does have a very tangible effect, and it is impactful on the gameplay experience. So I would highly recommend utilizing panning, even if it's just in drum tracks and making let's say you're making a rock song or something, and you're doing a tom fill. If you make the toms pan from left to right, in a similar setup to as it would be in real life, it can really mimic the sound of overhead mics actually picking that up. So it could give a bit more of a lived-in, more realistic and more realized sound, even if you're just making it in a DAW and it's all completely digital. So yeah, utilize panning, utilize the mixer, even though I barely did. Render out audio tracks, use automation, and there are parts, layers, horizontally and vertically. Honestly, and we're at an hour and 7 minutes. Honestly, I think this is good. This is enough to build off of for the next session, and it is more than enough to build off of for a part of gameplay, let's say in a horror game where you're walking down a hallway and then you're approaching something and then boom, you get jump scared. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this session.
I can already hear echoey footsteps walking down this hall.
Yeah. And that's part of the great thing about ambience, is that when it's really open, it leaves a ton of room for the other sound effects. So the footsteps can really emphasize just, okay, I'm really alone. There's a lot of reverb in here. Which reverb is actually something I should have utilized here.
Reverb is illegal.
Reverb is the greatest thing to ever grace this planet. So yeah, you put it great. It would work perfectly with footsteps. It would really emphasize those sound effects, just how open it is. And as it's building up, I would kind of increase and make the music a bit more prominent, not just in the fact that it has more layers, obviously, like in the composition, but I would increase the volume slowly, which we can delve into next part into that when we're actually doing it in Fmod. So last thing I want to do here is you're going to want to export all of these, which then lets us rebuild it in Fmod, which we will, I keep saying it, but we're going to do it next time. So you're just going to want to render all of them. You can select all of them here and just smack that good old render as audio clip button. You're going to want to leave remainder. That way it keeps any reverb tails that anything has. You're going to want to enable insert effects. That way this compressor and flanger are on it. And yeah, from there, all you really need is to have it as a WAV file. That's fine. It doesn't need to be an MP3 or anything. And just hit start, and it'll go through all of them for you. I feel like if I talk, it's going to be very crackly. There we go.
So, I don't think we could have seen some of that, but that's fine.
Oh, okay. Basically all I did is I right-click this, down near the bottom. I'm not sure how much you could see.
hit
Yeah,
some.
whenever you right click, we just don't see any of what you right click,
All right,
unfortunately,
let's fix that.
because share.
All right,
Yeah.
there we go. So basically, I selected all of these, right clicked, clicked render as audio clip. You leave the tail. If you cut the remainder, it won't have any reverb tail, which doesn't sound good. But I don't know. You could be going for something like that. And if you wrap the remainder, any reverb tail that is at the end of the bar. So this for example, this is 2 bars long. That's how long the note's held for. After those 2 bars are up, if I hit wrap remainder, then anything that are after the 2 bars would be put at the beginning. So it's good for loops, but not what we're trying to do here. So I'm just going to do leave remainder, and everything else you kind of leave the same. Wave files, good. You leave this checked off. That way it has the compressor and any other effects that you wanted to put on it. And then I just hit start, and it takes a second when you have a lot, or it takes a few minutes when you have a lot. But it just goes through, renders them all out, and boom, you have them here. And then we'll take a look at that next week. So back to this. Oh, thanks thing. There we go. Thanks for coming out. Really appreciate it. This is awesome turnout for the first session of the semester. Yeah, and I really appreciate it. I had some notes. I'm gonna move those here so you don't see them. But yeah, next week we've got a guest appearance from graduate and sound guy Moish. He's talking about his experience in the field so far, stuff he'd wish he'd known beforehand, all kind of great insights into the world of being a sound designer in the industry. So personally, I'm super excited for that. I recommend all of you come. And after that, we've got the second half to the session, which I have said about 4 billion times throughout this one, where we'll go about actually implementing this into Fmod Studio and making sure that all of it's adaptable, all of it's very useful, or usable, sorry, in an actual game setting. So make sure you're there for that, because that'll be mucho important. And that is all for today.